All right, Mike, I hope you are ready for your crash course in body language reading as well as impulse control boundaries. So, our first order of business with our gal after what I showed you with just the iPhone footage. So, every new dog I work with, I work on what are their basic boundary skills? How do they register boundaries? So, then I knew I wanted to push her further. So today I started with, again, basic drills, kind of moving about the room. At one point, I had another staff member come into the room with my dog. And I had my dog on a leash, and she goes back and forth between target points. So I was working with Huggy on pretty much observing what her prey drive is, and she does have a strong drive, as well as you'll see kind of where I pinpoint her lack of focus on the handler in some moments, and that is where things can get problematic for her. So, just like I mentioned in the text, she is incredibly obedient, and she will register boundaries if they're the correct amount of pressure and the correct amount of mindset. So, right here, she's doing well. Her ears are back, a little relaxed. Here, the intensity rises. That she had like a little lean forward, her ears were forward. She started to kind of go on her own to go investigate, and I gave her like a and she was able to kind of decompress. And my dog is just in a rested state, so she's at her first target point, and I'm just working Huggy, knowing that there's another dog in. So at that point, I had got my dog to move to the secondary target point. So she was walking across the room to separate targets. And Huggy, you can see, she does this behavior when she is interested or wants something. So she did this also with the chuck it, which I'll show you later on. She leans forward when I tell her no and correct her. She then lays down, and she still is very honed in on the thing that she's focused on. But once I saw she relaxed, we started to move around again. And what you're seeing, that little moment before she looked at my dog, she knew she shouldn't be doing that at that point, because I had gotten pretty adamant about, hey, we're not moving towards that dog even though it's what you want to do. And she started to avoid. So here's where she starts to lack her impulse control with her drive. So the drive that she has is super, super primitive. It is not something that she considers. It is just an innate behavior that is ingrained in whatever breed source she has. So if you notice that complete just disconnect at some points. So there's a stiffening, there's a movement towards, and here she's starting to get a little more under control. So after a few corrections, she's starting to register the verbal boundary, not with the leash. And I am rewarding a lot. And I know this is a lot of information at once, but I just want to kind of run you through it as it's happening. So I kind of give her a decompress moment. I take a step back. If you notice like the intensity that was just kind of going on there, when you just kind of move about, you could see now she's in Huggy mode. Just total dog brain, moving around. The body language is pretty relaxed. Her ears are forward, but not anything super intense. So we cruise back and forth a little bit. And then at one point, I start to move my dog at a longer distance. So when she sits, I'm starting to pick up on that she knows, well, obviously she's hyper aware that my dog's in the room, and she knows she shouldn't look over there. So right here, I gave her a verbal, and she was looking, but she wasn't like going to gun ahead. This too. The jumping is, again, like when she can't get to what she wants to go to, there's this like expelling of energy, and that jumping for her is a little subliminal as well. You'll see it with the chuck it ball. So then we moved away. I extended the target point, and I started to get my dog to move back and forth at a longer distance. So this is the body language I want you to watch. That stiffening that she does, that freezing, That is when you need to check in with her and you need to engage with her. It does not mean that you need to correct her in that moment, but it does mean that you need to at least try to get some sort of communication and attentiveness from her to you. And if she does not comply, then you would correct, okay? So the cues I was using just a negative marker such as at or no. You can use leave it. That's something we could work on. So like there, she started to just subliminally kind of move towards my dog. I gave her at no. And that licking that she does when she's looking at a small creature moving around is not ideal. And again, you'll really see her prey drive stuff with the chuck it. So I slowed this part down. This is where you could see how subliminal it is. So I went to start to move away to call her, and that small like look back that she did, her fixation on things is just really, really intense. So she's doing well now. She's laid down in a different position, so she's in a little bit more of a relaxed state. It's not as much a crouching, like pounce state. Still has the ability to get up pretty quick, but if I don't know if you could tell from the camera angle, one of her hips is kind of rested over slightly, not a whole lot. But anyway, so that was the in-room stuff. So I wanted to give her a little bit of break later on in the day, and I was just kind of working her through some of the agility stuff that we had because I thought that'd be really fun for her. And eventually I ran into the chuck it ball situation, and that got pretty interesting pretty fast. But I'm going to let you just kind of watch her jump around on these sticks for a little bit. And I know the GoPro footage may give like a little bit of a vertigo effect at times. I try to use the super zoom so that you could see everything in the area as well as all of what the dog is doing. But we did this drill for a couple minutes. There were times where she was getting kind of tired, but with her, after doing such intense boundary work with my dog, I wanted to do something fun to kind of loosen her up. This was like our later session in the day. And so I was just helping her jump these little hurdles. And then at one point I saw that orange chuck it ball that's kind of resting against the fence there. And I picked it up. And that was where everything changed. So instead of using a treat to lure, I knew she had a high ball drive just from what I've seen in the play area. And so I was like, oh, if I toss the ball, she'll probably jump over the fences, or the poles. So she was being really obedient. I was working with her on getting over each of the hurdles. So there's 3 of them. She hit the 2 and then kind of veered off on the last one, like right there. Then she started to jump up at me for the ball. And for me as a trainer and knowing with her intensity, like here's where you really see it. That like chomp that she does, that really subliminal, like almost Malinois like chomp with her teeth. And then she was jumping up at me. For me, I'm like, that is not acceptable. So I kind of paused there and I was holding the ball upwards, if you saw. And I was seeing if she would jump towards it because I was going to correct her. She did not. There's something that she does very well when she's sitting. She knows that she should just hold composure. So then what I started to do is I started to move around, holding the ball. So I'm holding her leash in my right hand and I'm holding the chuck it ball in my left. And when I went to go take that turn, her primitive brain got the best of her. And if you saw, she kind of did that launch off at the turn, and that's where I corrected her. So I'm still rewarding a lot, even though she doesn't even really care about the treats at this point. She's just focused on the chuck it ball. But where this translates when it comes to situations with other animals, or if, she does have this high prey drive, is the impulse. So she's super fixated, but as long as we can coach her through it and have an available boundary if she is not compliant at the last second, then we should be okay. But what I need you to understand is if there's not a physical boundary to help her be compliant, her drive may get the best of her just like it did prior. And the other footage I have from when my dog was in the room was I got my dog to bark, and she did get stressed at that, but she did well. The thing is with her is like whatever is going on, we just need her to be compliant because she does have a history now. And these pawings, those are also subliminal. So I mean, this is all just like, I'm just running you through everything that I'm seeing when it comes to her and her brain and her style of learning and everything she's going through minute by minute. I know it's a lot, but it's important to be able to read for you as her owner because like here, I'm trying to call her off of the chuck it ball. She's doing just like I want to hold it. I want to kind of play with it. She does eventually get called off of it. And I started to really test her prey drive. So first I was carrying it. I had it physically in my hand. Now I'm adding movement while she's sitting. And you could see, again, really hard on her impulse control. The boundary of the leash is super important in this exercise. And then when it's in front of me and she's sitting and I give her she's compliant. I do reward her with the chuck it ball because it is so reinforcing for her. So when I'm giving her these boundaries, especially since she's new to me, like this is only our third session at this point, I do not want to put so much pressure on a dog and then not reward them altogether. So there you could see a very definite prey drive. And just the ball is rolling and she's just like totally gone. And I was calling and I was like, hey, come over here. She looks at me. And she's like, okay, I'll take the cookie, but I'm going back to visit this thing. And so a prey drive is just if something is small or it could be anything and it just is moving fast. And so that's just the only thing I see for her that is problematic that we need to really just get under control. I mean, there's other things like she goes 0 to 90 really fast, and that can happen in a state of frustration as well. So she's just an intense dog. She's got some intensity to her, but really good for training. I mean, you could see she understands. She's big on her marks. When she does get a boundary, she's super compliant. So, I mean, overall, I love to work with her. She's pretty much like a little tiny Malinois, and that's the most fun dog to work with as a trainer. I don't know if she's part Mal. Her markings don't indicate that. And like here, you could see how difficult her impulse is. She's like crouching. She's trying to scurry towards. I had told her no at that point. Once she gets the leash boundary, she's like, okay, I will wait. So that's why I say leaving it up to her is not ideal right now. But being able to have some sort of control just until she's extremely fluent in verbal boundaries is the best bet. So having a management system. And again, I just kind of throw the ball around and ask her to wait until I release her to get it. And she does very well. And so there's a few points where I could see that it's hardest for her. So when it's going fast, that's very hard. When it gets further away than she's okay with, that's also very hard. So that's what worries me about, like, if she's at the dog park or something and she sees something in the distance, she just does not, like, I was trying to get her to walk calmly towards it. And she just cannot compose herself enough. And there, I corrected her because she was getting in that very animal-like state. The paw was up. She was just tensing. Yeah, so she likes the pool. I mean, I love to see her party in the pool. It's definitely cute. So yeah, I mean, I just want to get this footage to you. I know it's late now. I had 4 other videos to do today after work, and it's been a quite a long day, but I wanted you to be able to see this either in the morning or at some point tonight, and that way we can discuss when I see you tomorrow, kind of steps moving forward. She did very well in the play area with the other dogs. We didn't have too many incidences. She did have a bit of a resource guarding moment when it was feeding time. But other than that, you know, that's pretty common in a group of dogs. So when she was in her kennel, the bowl was put down and another dog came through to sniff and she responded to that. But again, her possessive nature just all comes from this. Her need to want to just like control and have the like thing that she's fixated on in that moment. And that intensity translates a lot. And the other thing I want to touch on is even though she does give the ball back, it all comes from her wanting the ball to move fast again and wanting to like chase it and catch it and do that whole thing that she does. So I'd say it's okay to let her have like play with balls because the drive is always going to be there. That's an innate response for her. What we need to do is be able to manage it with either our voice tools or just, you know, keeping her out of situations where it's going to get the best of her. So no amount of training is going to undo her innate sense to do that. But what training is going to do is be able to help her cope with that need to chase. And there's a lot of different avenues we could visit with something like that. But I just hope that you could see from this footage how involuntary it is for her. So I hope this stuff was interesting. I hope it was cute. Again, like just more informative than anything. I just wanted you to see from my literal perspective what I see when working with her. But other than that, I hope you're having a great time wherever you're at and whenever you're watching this, and I will talk to you soon.